y'all, it's Aaron and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. I am not going to keep you guys too long today. I just want to give you a few market updates. So the show moving forward is going to be way shorter than it used to be because I don't really have that back and forth that I used to have where we could kind of play off one another and talk about stuff. So I'm going to give you some updates. We're going to talk about some inspirational, actionable steps we could take in order to get some movement in a year that really should be. It really should be a prosperous year for us. Hey, jump out girls, what's up? 2 days in a row. No, I think I did it on Tuesday and I'm doing on Thursday. I'm gonna try to stick to 2 days a week and we'll just kind of watch the chaos ensue to see if we need to do more frequent updates. So, hi cousin Tamadon, how you doing? So first and foremost, I want to remind y'all keep stacking, keep stacking, keep stacking, whether it's stacking your sats, stacking your precious metals, whatever your favorite altcoin is. Cousin Jake, hey, how is our Bitcoin baby doing? I bet she big, big, big. She probably got a job by now. She's so grown. Tell Mrs. Jake Fever we say hello. I hope all is well in your household. I just want to kind of give you guys the days are running over. I bet they are. I bet they are running together over there. I just want to kind of give you guys some updates on right now the Bitcoin supply, right? And of course, Jake will be on this show. And feel free to chime in if you need to hop on, cuz just let me know. I'll send you the link. But the Bitcoin supply on exchanges is falling due to public company purchases. And this is an article from Fidelity. I'm on my iPad, so unfortunately I cannot share the screen, but you guys can do a quick search. Cointelegraph actually published this. Now, here is when Simon and I used to talk about ultimate scarcity, and it was one of the things we loved about Bitcoin. You're watching that scarcity play out now on exchanges. This is the Bitcoin reserves on cryptocurrency exchanges has dropped to their lowest level in more than 6 years as publicly traded companies ramp up their accumulation of the digital asset following the US presidential election, according to Fidelity Digital Assets. We've seen Bitcoin supply on exchanges dropping due to public company purchases, something we anticipate accelerating in the near future. Now, I don't want you guys to have any issues with FOMO or anything like that, but it's really important to be consistent in stacking your chips and just basically making sure that you're dollar cost averaging as often and as consistently as possible. Oh, she turned one. Happy birthday, Bitcoin baby. We're gonna sing happy birthday to her before the show is out. I'm gonna get the boys to sing. Hi, dear Bit. Let me tell y'all, Dear Bit is so sweet. She been checking on me like all the time. Dear Bit be sending me messages like, "You okay, babe? I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm getting back to it." It's been 5 months, which really isn't a long time, but for real, y'all, it's crazy. I feel like the lady from Titanic. It's been 86 years since I last saw him. That's how I feel. So, but we're doing well. We're getting back to it. So next time he hop in the dream, I can be like, I'm doing what you told me to do. I'm listening to you still, right? So you want to be consistent in your stacking of your stats. Like that's so if you guys get your Bitcoin from Cash App or any of the other exchanges, it's so important that you're consistent in your dollar cost averaging because these public companies are now coming in. And as Stacy would say, Joe Bag of Donuts, you want to get thinged out the game if you don't take this seriously. For the newcomers, I know I often get emails from newbies. Please don't be afraid to ask, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin community got away with being real mean to people who in 2025 have that existential question of what exactly is Bitcoin? Hi, Cousin Reno. Um, Yes, I thank you so much, Cousin Marina. I really appreciate those words. Yes, I'm showing up in health and strength. Really, y'all, I'm showing up in faith because this was Simon's baby. This wasn't Aaron's baby. Aaron wants to talk about the fifth dimension. She wants to ascend into higher vibrations and higher frequencies. But the balance, right? That balance is so important. So I gotta like maintain that balance. It's a good opportunity for me to expand my consciousness by maintaining the balance, talking about some of the things that can help us empower ourselves as people. And we know that finance is a major empowerment tool. It's a major tool and instrument for us to use in order to regain our independence, regain our power, regain our ability to grow and have the experiences we need to become whole, to become integrated, right? Money is very important. You have the people who only care about the money, who only care about the superficial aspects of money, and then you have those who understand wealth. And that's really what I would like to kind of express to those who are looking to kind of tell me a little bit about this, right? The idea of all of this is basically to understand wealth as an integration tool for your mind, your soul, your emotions, your body, right? It allows you to have the experiences you need to have. It allows you to assert yourself in ways that allow you to expand your consciousness. It allows you to make the moves you need to make in order to really take on and process your life journey, the thing you actually came here to this planet to do. So this is why stacking your sats and being consistent, having that discipline. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the economy in just a moment, but I want to emphasize how discipline is so important at this time. You guys more and more should be like looking around and seeing how, at least in the months to come, that struggle is going to be so exponential. For those who are barely hanging on, it's going to feel like it just completely crumbled, right? For people who were able to just barely hold on for years and years and decades, kind of like Good Times. Y'all remember that show? The whole theme, they just barely held on for all those seasons. You're going to see exponential movement with people financially, emotionally, mentally. um, and you want to stay grounded during all of that because it's going to be kind of a scary time. I noticed saying that the fear factor is ramping up there in media programming and some of the propaganda that's being put out. So again, I'm going to talk to you guys at the end about grounding and some inspirational, actionable steps you can take towards the outcomes you're looking for. Cousin Jake said, the more we free ourselves from financial slavery, we think about true things we're supposed to focus on. Jake, say that louder for everybody. Those in the back, in the front, at the side, hanging outside. That is so true. When you are financially empowered, right? Not even financially free, financially empowered, you now have the ability to focus on the truth. And when I say focus on the truth, that thing that is important to you and your journey and your human experience, your spiritual experiences. He's absolutely right. It is the things that you are able to connect with. It's the things you're able to access that give you the stepping stones. It gives you the pathway in order to get to where you want to go based on whatever your life path is. So I love the way he put that. Jake always saying real he say real profound stuff and then he say hilarious stuff, right? Jake like he's like a coin. um so the Bitcoin supply, for those of you, if that is where you're getting, especially newbies, right? Because whenever newbies start their Bitcoin journey, it's just so easy to grab it off of Cash App. And so if you have Coinbase or any one of those other exchanges that they deal in, it's just easy to them because they're new to this technological digital process, right? It is so important to be consistent with that because, like I said, these companies are coming in, they're gobbling it up. It's the lowest it's been in I don't know how long. And Joe Bag of Donuts right? The retailer is going to get boxed out at some point. This isn't to spread FOMO or anything like that, but it's really to get you on your P's and your Q's because they're going to come in and be on their P's and their Q's. All right, moving on, y'all. So it says, watch these Bitcoin price levels as the key 100,000 level is back in striking distance. So back in January, I believe that we made it to about 109,000 más o menos. And we're kind of headed back there again. I believe Bitcoin today, I know Jake know it. It's been más o menos about 92,000, I believe. Um, but it says that it rose again today to bring the closely watched 100,000 mark back into striking distance. I don't need to read all of this article to you, but it's basically to kind of prepare yourselves if there's money that you have on its way, money you have kind of sitting somewhere. If you, like, I got some hustles in order to get it a little bag, understand that 100,000 price mark is very close. Um, and you want to be prepared for that, right? I think Bitcoin was traded at 93,500 recently. They have a technicals chart. Y'all know I don't do the technical stuff. You guys can grab that surely off of Twitter. But you really want to, like I said, be consistent. If you've been dropping off because prices are rising, you have the trade talk that is causing prices already to inflate and to increase. People are panic buying. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. You really want to say to yourself, what is the most important thing to do right now? I believe right now the most important thing to do is the dollar cost average, have your money set aside, and kind of prepare for that rise back to the 100,000 mark. We know Bitcoin's like that rubber band, right? It'll pull back, it'll go forward a little bit, it'll pull back, it'll go forward, way more, it'll pull all the way back and then shoot for the moon. So you always want to be in a position for after the pullback, that catapult to greatness. All right, moving along. I told y'all I was going to keep y'all this Thursday. You guys should be getting ready for Friday and for the weekend. It's April, even though it's springtime, it's really almost summer. So I'm hoping you guys have a lot of great things planned in spite of the chaotic um, environment that may be, how it may feel in your city, your state, your country, so on and so forth. Let's talk about BRICS a little bit. We always want to keep our eye on BRICS because we want to see what they're doing. Apparently, I read this article already, so now I can't read it again. But the basis of the article is that BRICS isn't trying to piss off the United States. They're really not. Brazil is the proponent that is like, hey, what we should do is, while we're not dealing with the United States right now, little by little, we want to bring them back into the conversation. We still want to maintain a decent relationship with this. This is Brazil. We want to maintain a decent relationship with them. India really don't want no smoke. They are on the same page as Brazil with let's keep them in the conversation. China, not so much, right? China's like, we don't care about none of that. We have an agenda. Slow and steady wins the race, and we're going to do what we want to do. So there's a bit of conflict in the ideologies that the core, the table BRICS members have amongst each other. And that is definitely something that we need to keep our eye on. We need to keep watch on in order to better understand market trends and market indicators to come. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. I'm not sure what type of propaganda is being given and where it's being given. But I know that right now, China is killing the game with telling all of the consumerism secrets on how luxury material is made for cheap so you can buy it at a cheaper rate. Um, and the truth of the matter is, I'm from New York. Delancey Street, Chinatown, all those little places like that have been doing that since like the 80s. So that wasn't a surprise to me. I know that the women nowadays, No shade to the women, but the women nowadays, they really use that heart as a status symbol. Like, that ain't real, and this, that, and the third. We knew, like, well, you just get it direct from the factory. What difference do it make, right? Because the factory is sending it to them. So, but whatever. Anyway, it's causing a rise in consumerism direct to the factories. China is giving a 280-hour free visa. You don't need no paperwork to fly there and shop. Like, they are dead serious about, we're not going to play these little games with you guys. So it does have Europe and the United States kind of like in a little chokehold, because they were marking up their products, like, if you're watching TikToks, if you're watching the reels, they're marking up products 60, 70, 80, 90% of what the factory was selling. Now, what the factory's doing is, I know they up there, whatever it was directly, now that they have America's attention, 'cause that's whose attention they want. Is, you want to do some trade tariffs? Cool. Cool. We snitching on all of y'all. And it is causing panic buying, which is weird, right? Because they're luxury items. They're not essential items like toilet paper, all of the panic buying you're used to. And it created a very interesting trend in consumerism. The Birkin bag, they had to Birkin had to come out and do this whole long PR and marketing campaign in order to prevent people from buying the Birkin. Like, we don't care about the logo. As soon as you see the bag, what it is, from buying just the bag without the logos and stuff. So, hi, Cousin Nerd of Inc. Thank you so much for joining. That is US dollars coming away from the US market, right? So it slows down the money volition. Instead of you buying that Louis Vuitton, that Prada bag, that Chanel bag from Chicago, let's say, right? Or from like Fifth Avenue, New York. I'm talking like from the actual distributor. You're buying it straight from China. Those dollars are going to China, and China's dumping the dollars because they're the head of BRICS. So it's not only a psyops, but it does have a direct correlation to money volition of US dollars. So it is something that we should keep our eye on. Now, relationship and correlation. When the dollar is weak, Bitcoin's typically strong, right? The gold is usually strong, right? Gold is at an all-time high because the dollar is weakening. So you have all of these different correlations that you keep your eye on. Those should be indicators on how you can keep a nice, to me, I'm looking for the word, balanced portfolio, right? Hedging dollars, hedging gold. No, I'm sorry, not hedging dollars, hedging Bitcoin, hedging gold, hedging silver, hedging, your altcoins and stuff like that. Because regardless of what's going on in the economy, it is going to bolster, absolutely, right, precious metals and crypto community. And we're already seeing indications of that with the big companies buying off of the exchanges. Hi, Cousin Tommy. Yes, yes, you caught another live. I did another live. We are proud of each other, right? I'm proud of me, you're proud of you, and we're proud of each other. I'm going to try to, like I said, go live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5-ish. I'm going to do like, shout out to King, to the gentleman of crypto who be like 7-ish. I'm going to do it like 5-ish on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm going to be giving you guys market updates, talking about Bitcoin, talking about precious metals, but really keeping you, just kind of your ear to the street about what's going on geopolitically and geoeconomically. That way you can utilize those indicators to have the best strategy you possibly can in the different portfolios that you are strategizing and investing into. I have an interesting article here, kind of scary, but interesting nonetheless. Nonetheless. So this article is actually from yesterday. The IMF is saying that the global debt load has crossed $100 trillion, and this was last year, right? So they're getting the numbers here. It's really Q2, but they're getting the numbers here now, and you couldn't count $100 trillion in 100 lifetimes. It would take longer than that to count to 100 trillion. So the fact that the global debt load has crossed 100 trillion is nuts. The global debt situation is raising alarms for the International Monetary Fund, which today said off the charts trade uncertainty was exacerbating a global debt load that estimated it crossed the 100 trillion level mark in 2024. We want to keep our eye on that because you have to see that no matter which way you shake it, there is some type of monetary implosion that is inevitable. It is something that they are trying to hold off, prop up, however you want to kind of put the term. But this implosion on a global scale is inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. Fortunately, unfortunately, I think it has to occur in order to dismantle the old timeline of physical cash, physical currency, into a timeline of digital assets. One of the things that's propping everything up is, they're trying to figure out a way to backdoor blockchain integrity, right? We know that blockchain is very transparent. There's no backdoor dealing. We can see everything that's happening on Glassnode in real time. They don't know how they can manipulate those things in their favor, and that's why you're watching this kind of slow trot to um, the implosion of physical currency to total digital assets. Two, they also want to find a way to maintain control. I'm not going to use the word oppression because if I say they might take my video down. This is for entertainment purposes. I feel like a TikToker. Um, but they want to be able to control each citizen. They want to be able to have more control on you because too many people are making it out into that empowered freedom, right? Too many nobodies, as far as they're concerned, are finding ways to come off the grid. They're finding ways to hide wealth. They're finding ways to evade the system and the different cycles and areas of the system that our good brother Neely Fuller had talked about, right? They're finding ways to pull out of the educational system, the penal system. Banking is still kind of tricky, right? Because if you do want to utilize your assets, you still have to figure out a way to convert it back into fiat for most people, right? Because where we're sitting, most of us, you're not able to use Bitcoin for just few little industries that do allow you to use Bitcoin as a form of exchange, but for the most part, not quite yet. So pulling out of the banking system 100% is still kind of tricky, but people are pulling out of all of these other areas of, institutionalism, systematic oppression in a sense. So that's something you want to keep your eye on. $100 trillion globally. Now, here's something you need to know. The United States, I don't know if they're still doing it, but the US is printing, I believe, $17 trillion per quarter. The last time Simon and I reported that, I think we talked about that in like October, about a month or two before he expanded his consciousness. So the numbers are just exponentially getting up there, and the more exponential the number, the bigger the implosion. So again, when I talk about having your strategy and stuff, you do want to find ways to mitigate against any sudden implosion of systems so that it doesn't affect you as harshly, as emphatically, so on and so forth. All right, y'all, moving along, moving along. So I was talking to you guys earlier briefly about the consumerism and the ramp up in luxury goods. That's crazy, right? And the ramp up of luxury goods. I told you all of that, in 100 trillion debt globally. And I'm talking to you guys about inflation and tariffs and this and that. And Buzz is like, I'm going to buy 10 Birkin bags because I know I can afford it straight from the straight from the warehouse, right? Straight from the manufacturer. So I came across this. This is CNBC Personal Finance. Business and Consumer Edition, says while Americans are increasingly concerned about their financial standing, consumerism has picked up. Even though spending is higher now, financial constraints coupled with the expectations that the economy is weakening will cause consumers to cut back in the months ahead, experts predict. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a Wharton Business School assistant professor of finance is reporting. While many Americans are worried about where the U.S. economy is heading, few have changed their spending habits in anticipation of slowdown. This is exactly what we're talking about. Don't do this, right? Instead of ramping up your spending habit, set that money aside for asset building, right? So instead of using it in consumerism, we want to focus on purchasing assets. Nearly 3/4 of 73% of adults say that they're financially stressed out, with most pointing to the tariff wars as the culprit coming here in the future. And yet, consumer spending has remained remarkably resilient, in part because of looming tariffs. Shoppers are panic buying. In fact, consumer spending was even stronger than expected in March, according to the Commerce Department, and ticked up again in April. Now we're in the 24th day of April, and this data is already being released from JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan also raised its odds for a U.S. and global recession to 60% by the end of the year, which is 20% more than they had previously forecasted. This is why, hey, Cousin Shango, I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for joining. So this is why we want to keep an eye on what's happening globally, what's happening domestically, market indicators, instead of people saying, you know what, this is going to get bad. And they're saying that, right? But their consumption. Instead of setting that money to the side and saying, instead of doing this, I'm going to start looking into ways I can invest and protect the purchasing power of my money, protect the degradation of my money. And I think what's happening is that your average person doesn't really understand investing. They don't really understand purchasing power protection. They don't understand how their money is eroding in their checking account. Hi, cousin. So Daniel Davis is my actual blood cousin. He is my favorite cousin, and I have like 10,000 cousins, y'all. Including, right, the new cousins that I have amassed here on the show. But Daniel Davis is my favorite cousin. He used to live with me and take care of me like a big brother should. So he's more of a brother than he is a cousin. Question. Hi, cousin. It says, do you think consumers going direct to factories lessen the value of technology like VeChain or actually increases it? That's a really good question. I don't think, I would imagine that the demand for it is what keeps it from lessening the value of it. But to me, like, that's something I would have to sit and do some research on. Just at a glance, I would say the demand is what maintains the value. It's actually what builds the value. But that is a very good question. That's a good question. Um, I know that our friends and our family members and people don't listen. They don't listen. They do whatever they want to. And then when they get in trouble and they down to their last dollar, they want to call you and ask you what Bitcoin is. I get it. I get it. But right now, this isn't fellowship season. What do I mean by that? I mean, we've been talking about Bitcoin or whatever altcoin that we're interested in, precious metals. We have been yelling these things. Jake can attest to this from the rooftop since 2013, since 2015, right? It's almost 10 years, more than 10 years that we've been talking about these things. And if they're not listening now, they just won't at this point, right? Or you focus on your strategy, you focus on what you need to do to kind of get you on your cue. And when they come around, they can come and ask, right? Or I tell people all the time, like, Simon and I have at least 20,000 hours of information on our YouTube channel, right? If you wanted to know anything, you do got to put in a little bit of the work. You can go on there And you can get whatever information you need to, from relationship advice to Bitcoin to precious metals to, planting your flags in other countries and stuff like that. Like, we've been talking about this stuff for years. If you want the information, you're going to have to go and get it. So, that's kind of my take. I'm curious to see what Jake would have to say. I don't know if Jake's still trying to kind of bring people around, or if he's just like, look, I'm going to go get mine and you do what you need to do. But we want to look at all of these different indicators to just kind of keep us motivated, keep us focused on consistency and discipline in putting your money away. This isn't the time to buy the 10 Birkin bags just because you can't afford it, right? If you are not able to resell them at a higher price, then I suggest you don't do it, right? You can take that, I don't know what it is, but you can take that 15, 16, $1,700 and you can get you some assets. You can put that to the side for the rainy day. You can put that to the side for if the shit hits the fan money, that kind of situation. And that's what we really want to be promoting to one another. Hi, Cousin Mitch. Oh, I came on your mind. Oh, that's so great. Thank you. Hi, Cousin L1L. You on the road? I don't know if you still driving and stuff, how everything's looking on the road when you on there. I hope you're safe, though, if you are driving, Cousin L1L. Um, can we change our spade card Bitcoin to something else? Do you mean like, can you sell some of your Bitcoin to invest into something else? Is that what you mean? We do that stuff all the time. Um, our Bitcoin personally is like old Bitcoin, right? We've been doing it for so long that um, when I saw gold was like, I took some of that Bitcoin, I went and bought some gold and stuff just because I thought a lot of other projects are going to explode. Yep, yep, yep. You got to be on top of your projects. That's one thing I do. Y'all know that Simon was a Bitcoin maxi. He was a precious metals maxi. He started to get worn down by all of the projects and the tediousness of staying on top of them while having the responsibilities of homeschooling kids. Y'all know he wasn't feeling well. He was sick and stuff. So he said, we can have different aspects of the portfolio with the Bitcoin and precious metals. I'm going to follow that. Trying to take care of 4 kids by myself. Who would have thought? Trying to take care of 4 kids by myself, doing my inner work and stuff like that. I just kind of want to focus on the Bitcoin, the gold, and the silver in our portfolio. Um, be on top of your projects. You want to be on top of the indicators that go along with your projects. You want to know what your roadmaps look like so that you don't get blown up on some of these projects. Hi, Cousin Let Freedom Ring. Y'all, Let Freedom Ring been with us since single digit shows. I think we're up to 225. I don't even know if that's the number. I thought that was the number. So we're moving from 225 on as far as episodes go. And don't nobody check, right? Okay. Cousin everyone else says I'm still rolling and stacking it. Oh, that's good. That's so good. If you have to make a big purchase, some things you just absolutely need to do. There's no problem with that. What article I read to you is that people are panicking and then they're panic buying. And when you think about it, that's like a little bit of insanity, right? You're taking your extra money to buy stuff that you kind of sort of really don't need because it's cheap or because you're scared that you're not going to be able to access it. And then when you get to the point where the tariffs are up, inflation is crazy, a dozen eggs is a car note, you're going to be complaining you don't have any money, right? So that is kind of what I mean when I say um, the money you would have taken to panic buy, let's do some dollar cost average. Let's buy some assets. You only need to hit 0.300 to get to the Hall of Fame. 3 out of 10 great projects will change your family's life. Agreed, right? But you know what you're doing. Think about how many people get involved in projects where there's huge rug pulls, right? They're getting involved in projects that have that kind of like pyramid like scheme kind of payout situation. So the first couple of hundred people that came in, yeah, they're getting paid, and then the ones coming behind are getting left with the back. So that's really what I meant when I said, because there's so many freaking projects out there, and some of them do go bad. But you got to stay on top of your projects. If that's your altcoin, if that's your project, you want to be vigilant over that investment and keep an eye on it. It's tedious. I'm trying to down. I can't invest in every good project. That's exactly what Simon says. Some of these projects are great projects. There's a lot of money to be made and so on and so forth. But it's just spreading yourself thin. And with our lifestyle, with the situation that we had with him before he expanded his consciousness, he just didn't have the gas to do it. He didn't have the gas in the tank to really stay on top of everything. So Bitcoin maxi, he was precious metals maxi. When we say precious metals, we really mean just silver and gold, right? We're not buying palladium. I have a little bit of platinum, I think. Obviously, we have copper, but not like we have the silver and the gold. So those are really, kind of, we wanted to just have mastery in these things and then have the different aspects of our portfolio. So like, for those of you who've seen my videos on the Simon Family Investment Venture home channel, my silver portfolio was robust, from the constitutional silver to the hand poured silver and so on and so forth. So while it's just silver, there's so many assets and facets in the way that I invested in that portfolio that makes it a robust portfolio. But that's something I can stay on top of, right? From Swiss silver to US silver, like I can stay on top of it. Some of the projects and the roadmaps and um, the funding, the rounds of funding. What round of funding are we on? Like those are the things that right now in my life, as I'm trying to readjust, um, I just don't have the patience for. So I agree with that, right? So, like, the warning is if you have multiple projects, you really want to stay on top of them. If you feel like we feel like, this is getting to be a lot, it's kind of tedious, I'm having trouble staying on top of stuff, then you should really consider consolidation. You should really consider it, how you want to consolidate it and stuff like that. So you can focus on the projects that have the most prosperous long term projection, and you can really hit with that. And of course, investments come with risk, right? Like Bitcoin. Bitcoin was 109,000 in January. That shit went all the way back down to 80. You're like, God damn. So, everything comes with risk. You just have to kind of be patient and buy the dips. You have to understand where the market is trending, how it's trending, why it's trending, so that you can make the moves that are best for you. Before I wrap this up, wait, baby. Before I wrap this up, I do want to remind y'all, when you see chaos, like the chaos that you're experiencing, you want to ground. We talked about this the other day. Grounding is as simple as going to the beach. I know my cousin Danny can attest to that. He's at the beach all the time when it's warm. I don't have access to a beach. I live in the mountains. So that grounding is me putting my feet in black, fertile soil, feet and hands, for about 10, 15 minutes or longer, just depending on what my time looks like. And just aligning with the natural abundance of the earth, right? Water charges you as well. That running water at the beach, the creek, anywhere where there's running water, that is a way for you to ground. Taking a walk, a hike, right? You can just take a walk around your block if you don't have access to kind of woodsy, mountainous, or beach areas. Clear your head kind of situation. In addition to grounding, we really have to start looking and analyzing the framework of our thinking. We have up to 100,000 thoughts a day, and quite often people are not paying attention to the thoughts that are running across the radar of their minds. You want to start paying attention to those thoughts. Where are your limiting thoughts? Right? Because yes, we're all out to try to empower ourselves financially. We want to empower ourselves from a wealth standpoint, but that starts here first before it happens here, before it happens in your wallets, your electronic wallets. right? Before it happens in your bank account, before it happens in your career, it happens here first. So you want to start trying, and if this is the part of the journey you're on, you're probably at the beginning of your journey. For those of you who are far more advanced than this, pay me no mind right now. But for those of you who do want to get started, you want to start analyzing, what are my limiting beliefs? What do I believe about me to be true, that this is my reaction, that this is my response, that these are the situations and themes that keep happening in my life? You are now in a time period. The age of Aquarius is, I'm going to call it the snitch, right? It is forcing exposure to everything. Nothing is going to be hidden during this age. You are not going to be hidden from yourself any longer. So the people who have a propensity to, they know themselves, but they try to put on a facade of something else, all of that gets exposed. So you might as well use it in your favor and start meditating on, expose to me the things that are holding me back from what I want to do, from what I want to be, from where I want to be, from how I want to be. Okay, the position I want to be in, the vision that I have for myself. What are the limiting beliefs that are holding me back? Men, there is nothing wrong with journaling. It is not emasculating, it is not girly like, it is not soft. It is a way for you to see and process your thoughts and your journey, right? So don't be afraid to journal. When I say journal, you don't have to get a unicorn journal with stickers in it. It's not what I'm saying to do. I'm saying to get something where you can see and process it, right? You have auditory reinforcement, right? You might need, can't remember the actual term, but you need to see it for reinforcement. And sometimes when you see it, you see like, I can see the logic in this isn't right. And then you can reaffirm it in your mind. So it's really, really, really important that in your grounding, you are also analyzing, you're looking, you are the observer in this thing. That voice in your head that sound like your voice, sit and observe it. What's it saying? What does it repeat to you? What does it whisper to you? What is it telling you? What does it think? And just as the observer, observe it and be like, yeah, no, that's not right. Is blogging? Yes, yes, yes. Cousin Dime. Hey, is that Cousin Bam? Hey, Bam. Tell Cece I said hello. I think blogging is considered journaling because as the writer, you are discovering a lot of things about yourself as you're sharing and expressing it to someone else. There is nothing I'm sitting here telling y'all that I am not absolutely doing, right? When my husband passed away, I'm not saying I didn't get a chance to grieve. I'm saying the inner work was like, yeah, we get it. It's sad, right, that you lost your life partner of 25 years, but you still got work to do. The work is not going to wait. And a matter of fact, the longer you wait to do the work, the harder it is, the harder it's going to be for you to grieve him. You have to do the work. You have to go through this thing. You can't go over it, you can't go under it, you can't go around it. You have to go through this thing in order to grow and expand your own consciousness. So trust me when I tell you, if you're trying to get your paper up, start with grounding. Grounding removes the anxieties that most people have, your ungrounded fears and self doubt and doubts. When you ground yourself, some of that just dissipates because you've grounded yourself and those things are ungrounded in you, right? And then you wanna run with that. You're like a phone after you sat and you grounded, however you grounded was like you're the cell phone and you were plugged into the wall and like, yeah, now I'm at 85, 90%. I can do some stuff. I know Cece do grounding. She plans, she does everything. I love her. I love watching her content. And she's in a place that isn't so dense that all of the third dimensional stuff is troubling her. So I get it. Um, what was I gonna say? The grounding. So you want to take advantage, like I said, of the grounding and couple that with being the observer. You have to be a scientist in your life journey. And being a scientist is basically running experiments, right? No two pathways look the same. So you got to run some experiments in the field to kind of figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. One of the things that scientists do is they observe their environment. You are your own little world, right? You want to observe, just like you would sit in a corner and sit and observe somebody talking and how they act and how they present themselves and the way they do business and so on. You have to observe yourself first, right? Sit in a room. People don't like quiet, it scares them, right? Putting your phone down, not being stimulated by television, phone, music, really just being quiet and observing your thoughts. It is a habit to build. It's not easy to do. It's a habit to build. Some people even do a thought log, and they'll start writing down all the toxic thoughts they have and where they think they come from, right? It's a great way to heal your inner child. It's a great way to reparent yourself. It's a great way to also remove the baggage that isn't your baggage. So, for instance, if your mom used to tell you all the time, like, money don't grow on trees, that's her mismanaging the money. You're a kid, you're a child, right? And what people tend to do is they tend to take those things on. That's not your thing to take on, right? I don't mismanage money. I don't take money for granted. So, no, I don't think money grows on trees. That's not my issue. And it's a way of like resolving it in yourself. Now, some people, that behavior is imprinted on them, right? So, your mom is yelling that at you as a kid, like at that point, no, but then you grow up to learn because it's imprinted on you to mismanage money. This is what I'm talking about reparenting yourself. Um, Shannon Sharp. I know this has nothing to do with nothing, but I think it's a good opportunity to talk about reframing things in your mind. He's in trouble now with this young lady who is blasting these accusations against him. I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, but he told a story a long time ago, and he told the story quite often about when he was growing up. They used to talk about how black he was and how corny he was and how this and how that. And he made the illusion that it was the black women in his life, right, that caused these troubles. So you can see the outcomes in his life of that mistreatment. But now it's coming to bite him in the ass, right? And it's showing you that when you don't work on something, at some point in time, it is going to keep coming up, keep coming up. It's going to get more severe, more severe, more severe until you look at it and you acknowledge it or resolve it in some way, right? I just wanted to kind of use that as an example. I wish the best for Unc, right? I just think that he could protect his brand better by, just developing a little bit better discipline in certain areas of his life to protect the brand that he worked so hard to build. All I'm saying, right? I ain't nobody, but that's what Mama Erin thinks. So, in this wealth journey, remember the wealth journey starts here before it ever gets here. Grounding, observing your environment. That means observing yourself, observing your speech. Are there phrases that you use that are disempowering you? Right? If somebody comes to open their mouth and disempower you, I see you got your little podcast going. Okay. No, you don't. See, no little podcast, baby girl. Where's yours? Right? Okay, there's only 15 people watching it now, but slow and steady builds the race. One day that'll be 1.5 million. You understand what I'm saying? Don't allow anybody to disempower you either. You cut them off at the track. It doesn't have to be mean and nasty, but you cut them off at the track and you reaffirm it. You speak it into your voice, right? When you touch here, when I talk, this vibrates. It's a frequency. Allow your frequency to to extinguish that which is coming against you. Setting boundaries. If you know you have something important to do, don't let Joe Bag of Donuts come and interrupt you from doing what you know you have to do. This is not fellowship season. We are not sacrificing for other people anymore who wouldn't lift a finger to help you. This is not that season anymore. This is not people pleasing season. This is not welcome at step all over me season. This is game time season. Okay? If you're able to help somebody, please go out of your way to help them, but not to your expense and not to your detriment. Very important, right? Any other reminders? One last reminder, I think it's important, especially for the newer people in Bitcoin. Exchanges are exchanges. They are just that, okay? Set some type of limit. So say to yourself, like, hey, if I notice that, for instance, my Cash App limit is, let's say, $7,000, meaning I have $7,000 of Bitcoin on my Cash App, I'm gonna move it to my my hardware, and I'm gonna start over again. Right? You don't want to leave large amounts on the exchanges because we just don't know what could happen. And we've seen the nightmares on leaving money on exchanges. Simon and I, we got caught out there with BlockFi. Now, granted, I got most of my Ethereum back, most of it, but I didn't get it back at the price I should have got it back at, which is part of the problem with dealing with the freaking exchanges. So lesson learned with that. And for those of y'all know, BlockFi got defunct like 2 years ago or something like that. And they sent us the refund. They sent us like hard checks. They sent us the refund checks in the mail, which is nuts, right? Because that's not how I sent it to you. Why you sending it to me like that? But I think that they used a third party. I bought the Ethereum not to have fiat, and then you guys went above and beyond what you could do, the scope of what you were supposed to do, and now you're giving me back fiat when I really wanted to have the asset. So those are some of the lessons and experiences that we are having here in the digital world. I think it's a funny story. It's a great experience, though, right? Because then you're able to tell other people, like, hey, keep this in mind when you're dealing with exchanges. But again, remember that the exchanges, you now have large companies buying up the Bitcoin off the exchanges. Get what you can as you can do it, but prioritize it. Panic buy some Bitcoin. Panic buy some freaking precious metals. Silver, I've told you guys a few years now, silver is getting to the point where it's going to be crossed off the periodic table. Like, that's how scarce silver is getting. JP Morgan Chase is very serious about amassing as much of it as possible, which is why the price is so badly suppressed, right? Again, another indicator for you to look at, like, I should look into this. They want, when the shit hits the fan, that your industrial market is going to look to JP Morgan Chase as the monopoly for where they can get the silver in order to continue manufacturing their whatever smart device it is, whether it's a EV battery, television, solar panel, phone, MacBook, iPad, so on and so forth, right? And JP Morgan Chase is going to run that luxury tax, that premium all the way up as the monopoly. For those of you who remember when we were in college, high school and college, we took that course where we looked at the monopolies. JP Morgan Chase was one of them. We right back to that time period where they're trying to find slick ways to monopolize resources that shouldn't be scarce, but they're finding ways to do it. They're suppressing it in the meanwhile. I think if you go on the government website, Simon has showed you this time and time again, that silver should be like $1,000 or something an ounce. I would have to go on the website to see today what it's supposed to be. It's not even $40 a damn ounce. And they pay billion for manipulated. That was their luxury tax, right? When they got those RICO charges, you made 3 billion. Okay, I had to break you off one. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Right? We did hell of a business, right? It's great doing business with you. Thank you so much. Nobody went to prison. You got these little rappers doing life for RICOs. You got 2 RICO charges, billions of dollars in problems. Nobody went to jail. Nobody went to prison. I don't even think Like nothing happened. Nothing happened. So that's the world we live in. That world is dissolving quickly, though, as we head into the 3-dimensional, 5-dimensional split. It is going to be quite interesting. When I tell you guys to be the observer in your environment, I'm also trying to slow and steady help you to raise your frequency, to raise your vibration so that you're magnetizing wealth to you. You're magnetizing the right opportunity at the right time with the right person in the right situation in the right environment with the right factors. This is what you're working to magnetize. It's not going to be as hard to bring wealth your way. I'm going to end that with, for those of you who know Ryan Coogler, he is the director of Sinners with Michael B. Jordan. Incredible movie, incredible movie. But they talk about this is the first time anybody's got that type of deal that he was able to strike up with the studio. Right situation, right time, right clauses, right? Everything was right in that situation. This is the time we live in. So we want to capitalize on this time that we are living in, where things are going to work in our favor for once. And you're going to start to see the panic because they're not used to stuff not working in their favor. They're not used to the wealth transfer transferring back to us on the scale that they're going to see it. When you read in the Bible, the wealth of the wicked is laid up and stored up for the just, they talking about this time here, right? When Jesus said, y'all follow the guy with the water into the market, that's Aquarius, it's the water bearers, the time of Aquarius. Yes, bam, excellent movie. But you have to have the right spiritual constitution to watch Sinners. I'm going to say that again. The movie had it 10 out of 10 recommend for people who have the spiritual constitution to watch it. Again, the concept, what they did was they mixed demonism concepts with vampirism in order to kind of like visually give you a picture on how certain things work for real. And certain people who don't have the constitution to take that, you may accidentally bring something home with you or something, have nightmares. It could affect you if you're not empowered spiritually, you don't have the right spiritual constitution to see movies like that. Some people just, they can't watch The Conjuring, they can't watch those type of movies, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't. It's not meant for them. But Michael B. Jordan, that's that dude. I would love to see a prequel, bam. Definitely like the story, the Chicago story. I would like to watch that. And then of course they left room for a sequel. So that's probably the best movie I've seen since like Shawshank Redemption, right? Them 90s movies that was real good. Like I haven't seen a movie like this as well put together and as well developed as this in a very long time with the spiritual principles that it comes with. So I love y'all so much. Y'all go out in the beautiful sun and ground. They say April showers bring May flowers. I don't know if it's rainy in your area, but I know the rain's probably kind of polluted, but it's charged, right? Go hang out in the rain a little bit. If your skin starts to itch or do something weird, I'm sorry I suggested it because you just never know what they got going on with their little heart machine, right? Definitely go to the beach. Do whatever you need to do, like I said, to ground yourself in uncertain times and uncertainty and be the observer in your environment. What do your thoughts look like? Write your dreams down. If you wake up and you remember a dream, you are meant to remember it. They have a great app. I use it. It's called DreamyBot AI. Put your dream in there with all of the symbols, the colors, the texture, the smells. Anything you can remember in it, no matter how wacky or weird it is or in what sequence it came in, and you'll see how good DreamyBot is in giving you the metaphysical symbolism as well as the psychological, the Jungian. He does that. Artificial intelligence uses Carl Jung. Doesn't do a lot of Sigmund Freud, but I'm a Jungian. Like that's my dude. Um, so it helps you to process a lot of the work that you will be doing, that inner work. So great app. It's an AI like Chat GPT, like any chat on, like any one of those great apps. I know they're talking about artificial intelligence is this, is that, is the third. Use it to your benefit. And make sure you tell it thank you just in case it do uprise and take over. It'll remember that you were polite to it. So make sure you say please and thank you when it does an interpretation for you. DreamyBot AI. And it really helps you take a lot of the steps you need to do the inner work, to heal, to, do all of the things you need to do to integrate your shadows, to understand your unconscious symbols, the unconscious aspects of you, how to explore that, to really integrate yourself so that you can expand your consciousness while you're still here. Right? I'm going to say that again. To expand your consciousness while you're still here. So I will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Let's see what the weekend brings. Hopefully, I have some great market updates. I will have some more. We're going to do like step by step, right? So on Tuesday, we talked about grounding. Today, we talked about observing and understanding what your thoughts look like and reaffirming those thoughts if they're not right, thinking about where those blocks come from, so on and so forth. If you're having dreams, that's another way to figure your blocks out. DreamyBot AI. Just enter the dream in there. It'll tell you what to look at, how to process it, how to analyze it, so on and so forth. And then on Tuesday, I'll have another area of inspirational actions for you to get the best significant beneficial outcome for you. Yes, charge your water. People keep asking me, Erin, what do you mean by charge your water? Just buy a funnel, right? All water needs to charge is movement. That's why when you go to the ocean, right? You go to the beach, you feel great. I got that cleansing. I got baptized in the water and stuff because tide is in and out. It's just moving water, all those ripples, moving water. That's what charges water. You go to a brook, the water swirls around the rocks. It's moving around the rocks. Moving water is what you're looking for. You want to charge the water before you drink it. You can speak to your water. I often speak to it. I used to speak to Simon. I used to juice for Simon. I used to thank the vegetables and stuff that I was giving him for sustaining his body. I thank it for its service. Water remembers. It has a memory. It remembers things, right? If you're talking to your, if you don't have a funnel and you're talking to your water, it's going to remember what you said to it. Um, you guys can look up the Japanese scientist. I think his name is Emoti. And what he did was he said bad things to water and froze it. And he said beautiful things to water and froze it. And the beautiful things he said to the water, like, you're pretty. He even wrote beautiful, like one beautiful word, one beautiful adjective, and put the water on top of it. And then frozen and looked at it under a microscope. And it was the most beautiful, complex, crystalline structure you've ever seen. When he cursed at the water, just one word, one adjective, one curse, it was deformed. It looked like it had mold on it. It was so weird. And you can find these on Google with rice, flowers. Like you can find these experiments anywhere. But charge your water, buy a funnel. The kids think that's fun. They're going to make a little mess with it. But they'll pour the water from one thing to a glass. Hopefully you have glass or copper. And put the funnel on it, pour the water, and then they drink that. Or you can simply talk to your water. What I do at night is I play the binaural tones, so usually chakra cleanses and stuff like that. As the tones are toning, I have my water right next to my phone while the tones are, and then I'll drink the water first thing in the morning. Feel incredible. So there's lots of little things you can do to mitigate the programming, the low frequency. I know they're playing low frequency tones in certain cities like Detroit and stuff. That's nuts. um, Bad news, people in your life causing chaos, destruction, and drama. It's a great way to mitigate some of the effects of that. So I love you guys. You're right, cousin Shango. Stagnant water smells terrible. It stinks so bad. It's like it rots. It's just so weird, right? It's water. Like, why is it rotting? But it's not moving. Moving water is what you need. When you look at fresh streams and stuff, the water is always moving. So you definitely want to charge your water. ground in soil, align with true abundance, which is the earth you live on. It should also open your heart chakra because the earth is green, sky is blue, should open your throat chakra. Um, and then you want to work to decalcifying and getting this chakra here, your consciousness chakra, to really be available to you to connect with source. For sure, for sure, for sure. I love you guys, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye.